Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my quarterback start or sit decisions for week number 3 of the 2022 fantasy football season. Inside today's video, I'll be going in depth into every single matchup of week number 3, and I'll be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit the quarterback in all of those matchups. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. I would also like to ask that if you guys have any questions about week number 3, it doesn't just have to be about quarterbacks for fantasy football. Please make sure that you ask down below in the comment section. I love talking to you guys down there. So without further ado, let's get into the week 3 quarterback start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. In this game, I am beyond uninterested in both of these quarterbacks. This game is considered to be a snooze fest because Vegas has this as one of the lowest projected point totals on the week. Jacoby Brissett actually looked really good up against the Jets, and that's the best Jacoby Brissett I have seen in a while. He was making legitimately good throws that not just a decent NFL quarterback could make. But again, Jacoby Brissett doesn't wow me. This game doesn't wow me at all. This could be a very run-heavy attack from the Browns as well as the Steelers. The Steelers could just keep handing the rock to Najee Harris. The Browns could keep using 9-inch Nicholas Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And then we get out of there in a very fast fashion, because the game will go incredibly fast if they just keep running the ball. And both Trubisky and Jacoby Brissett are honestly probably, if I had to rank the top 32 quarterbacks in fantasy this week, might be 31 and 32. That's how bad things are going to be in this game. So kiss and titties Mitchell Trubisky, while I love that man's nickname. Jacoby Brissett, while he looked better last week, sit both of them down on your bench. Next up, we move to the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers to start the Sunday slate. Famous Jameis Winston is going to be a start in this game. Last week up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you started Jameis Winston, and also if you started Tom Brady, I had both of them in my Superflex league, Jameis Winston took a colossal dump directly on your chest and lit that thing on fire. Jameis saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform on the other side of the field, and he was like, oh, I remember being on the Buccaneers. And then he went back to the old Jameis of throwing a million fucking interceptions. Though, that's not the Jameis that we should be used to at this point. That's the old Jameis. So I think we will see the new version of Jameis in week number 3 up against the Panthers. I don't think Jameis Winston is an ideal start. He'd be closer to the bottom of the barrel of the quarterbacks that I'm listing as a start in today's video. But you can definitely do much worse than famous Jameis Winston up against the Panthers. Again, the Bucs defense is significantly stronger than the Panthers. Baker Mayfield just doesn't look the best. Like, he had an all right week 1, week 2, not so hot. Matt Rule just appears to be an absolute fucking dumbass. He is currently 1-24 when allowing 17 plus points in a game. 1-24, he being Matt Rule. The Panthers are a fucking disaster. I don't understand why Baker's play sheet isn't just, hey, throw the ball to McCaffrey or throw the ball to DJ Moore. That would work pretty effectively. I still think Baker is a better quarterback than people give him credit for, but he's not a start-worthy quarterback this week up against the Saints, and the Saints also have a pretty good defense. Next up, we move to the Houston Texans at the Chicago Bears. The Bears this season, I'm thinking going into the season, they got Darnell Mooney, they got Cole Kmet. They are going to force feed the ball to these guys, because outside of that, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother, Equanimeous St. Brown. They have the Chip King Byron Pringle, so they don't really have too many options to throw the ball to. And I feel as though Matt Eberflus, head coach of the team, took that too literally and thought, you know what? We're not going to have Justin Fields throw the ball very much. We're just going to run the ball a million times. Fields is going to run the ball, and that's how we're going to win a game. Sure, you could discount what happened in San Francisco because of the game environment, right? It's a downpour, torrential downpour. But in week number 2, up against the Green Bay Packers in prime time, they're just running the ball a million times. Justin Fields has the talent, I believe, to be a franchise quarterback, but I don't think we're going to see that this season with Matt Eberflus, and I just don't trust Justin Fields at all. Davis Mills is like the definition of average. Davis Mills will never really have that crazy big game. He'll never really have all that bad of a game, but in terms of a one quarterback league, you're never really going to be wanting to start Davis Mills, even up against the Bears defense. Next up, we move to the Kansas City Chiefs at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are looking so fucking bad right now. The Colts are in full-on Mayday mode. There's a red blinking light flashing in the offices of the Indianapolis Colts because Matt Ryan looks awful. He looks atrocious. Frank Reich's play calling is awful. This defense that on paper looks amazing absolutely sucks. But there is still a chance that because the Colts have so much talent, they have Jonathan Taylor. If Michael Pittman's healthy, they have Michael Pittman. They have Petty Campbell. They have Alec Pierce. They have these players. They have my boy Mo Alley Cox. Like, maybe things do turn around for the Colts. And that's why I'm starting to think. Now, again, I'm not starting Matt Ryan. There's no reason to be starting Matt Ryan right now with how atrocious this guy has looked. But I'm starting to worry that the Chiefs -6.5, Chiefs -7 bet is the easiest fade maybe ever because all of America is like the Chiefs are going to kick the shit out of the Colts, and for some reason, just because of that, I feel as though the Colts might keep this game competitive. Again, I don't want anything to do with Matt Ryan, but I feel like if you're betting on this game, this should be a clear stay away. Patrick Mahomes has been fantastic without Tyreek Hill. Who would have guessed that, right? Who would have known that one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL would still be good without Tyreek Hill? Shocker to what should be nobody, but it seems like everyone was kind of out on Patrick Mahomes. Up against the Indianapolis Colts, they can definitely lay an ass whooping here. Like I said, I think that's the popular opinion here. This is going to be an ass whooping, and I expect Patrick Mahomes to have a very good game. Next up, we move to the Miami Dolphins going up against the Buffalo Bills at home in Miami. Josh Allen was doing Josh Allen things on Monday Night Football. Obviously, we know how good Josh Allen is. There's a reason why you might have pulled the trigger in the second or third round of your fantasy football draft a couple of weeks ago. That's because Josh Allen is so fucking good. Even when Gabe Davis isn't there, even when Dawson Knox isn't performing, all Josh Allen has to do is just force feed the ball to Stephon Diggs, and things go all fine and dandy for Josh Allen. So obviously, you're going to start him. Tua Tagovailoa had one of the craziest comebacks I have ever seen in my life. 6 fucking touchdowns for Tua Tagovailoa in that game up against the Ravens. Now, is the Bills' defense better than the Ravens? Probably. Are the Bills going to give the Dolphins a tough time? Definitely, 100%. Are the Dolphins potentially in a really bad spot up against the Bills because the Bills have, for the last couple of years, demolished the Dolphins? Yes, I'm a Dolphins fan. I've watched this game happen all the time, 2 times every year for my whole life. And recently, the Bills, no matter how good the Dolphins look going into the game, the Bills just take a dump directly on their chest. The Dolphins stand no chance. But maybe this year it's different under Mike McDaniel. I'm going to play Tua, but not with the supreme confidence of him being amazing in this game. I know, and you probably know, that the Dolphins have the upside to get into a game here where it's a rock'em sock'em robots type of match where both offenses are firing at all cylinders, a nice back and forth affair. I hope that is the case as a Dolphins fan, that we can stay in this game. I am worried about Tua, though. He's coming off of the highest of highs, coming back in the craziest comeback maybe ever in the NFL regular season. That game was crazy. Can he do it again? Can he step up to the plate and fucking call his shot and hit one out of the park? Can he do it? I want to see it. So I'm going to start Tua. But again, not with the confidence that he's going to be amazing. He's the number one. He's the passing leader in terms of passing yards in the National Football League right now. This game might not go his way, but at the end of the day, with so many weapons up against the Bills and what could be a high-scoring game, you definitely want Tua in your lineup. Next up, we move to the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Last week, I was tricked by Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins looked so good in week 1. I was like, maybe that narrative of the fact that Kirk Cousins is complete and utter dog shit on prime time is false. It's just not going to happen in this game, right? He's just looked so good. How could he possibly regress in prime time like he always does? He always plays bad in prime time. Sleepy Kirk Cousins is too tired in prime time because he's an old fucking man. He wants to be asleep at 8:30, but the game starts at like 8:30. So Kirk Cousins struggled mightily. But he's waking up bright and early, bushy-tailed, to play up against the Lions because the game's at 1 o'clock. Kirk Cousins loves the 1 o'clock games. He was awful up against the Eagles. Darius Slay was his best wide receiver in that game, and Darius Slay is on the Eagles. So Kirk Cousins, Mr. You Like That, is coming back for blood, and I think Kirk Cousins eats up that Lions defense. I expect a big bounce back from Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins. For the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff has just been the definition of consistency over the first 2 games. Now, we all know that Jared Goff isn't this upper echelon NFL quarterback, but with the pieces the Lions have, he could look good for fantasy. Some people were a little bit worried last week because Swift was banged up, but Swift wasn't really banged up, right? There was a report today as I'm recording this on Wednesday that DeAndre Swift is feeling incredibly good. He's feeling great, all fine and dandy. So I'm firing up Jared Goff with supreme confidence because I believe that this game also has all the makings of a very high-scoring back-and-forth affair between the Lions and the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Next up, we move to the Ravens at the New England Deflatriots. The Ravens with the biggest letdown maybe ever up against the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson in that game played the best a quarterback has ever played according to the ELO rating system that lost. That was the best game a quarterback has ever played and lost the fucking game, I believe, in the regular season in NFL history since they started tracking this ELO grading system. Crazy. Lamar Jackson ran all over the Dolphins. He passed all over the Dolphins. They have so much speed on the Baltimore Ravens. Up against the Patriots, I know, but Nick, Bill Belichick's gonna shut Lamar Jackson down. No, he's not. No, he's not. I understand, the Patriots defense, on paper, they're pretty decent, right? But they're not good enough to stop Lamar Jackson. Lamar might be the number 1 fucking quarterback at the end of the week. I love Lamar in this game. People are gonna be a bunch of pussies about this. Be like, he's going up against the Patriots. Don't be scared. It's Lamar Jackson time. Mac Jones doesn't look good. He doesn't look awful, right? He's not like the worst quarterback in the NFL, but he doesn't look like he's the franchise guy. Now, I'm not going to discredit Mac Jones. It's only year 2 for him, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and say this guy's a fucking bust, right? Daniel Jones is still playing quarterback out there, right? But right now for fantasy football, I don't really want anything to do with Mac Jones. I just don't think he really has any pushes, right? Because he's this quarterback that just sits in the pocket. He doesn't really have any rushing upside, but he also doesn't have this crazy arm talent or these crazy receivers around him that could potentially elevating him into throwing 4+ touchdowns in a game. So here, up against the Ravens, I'm definitely sitting down Mac Jones. Next up, we move to the Cincinnati Bengals at the New York Jumbo Jets. Joe Shiesty versus the Jets. That offensive line in Cincinnati has been really bad. They are getting absolutely battered by any defensive line player that's trying to get through. Things are not looking well for that O-line. Joe Burrow has been sacked more times. He has more yards being sacked backwards than Najee Harris has yards running forward this season. Joe Burrow has been getting destroyed, demolished behind the offensive line. Now he gets the Jets. Now the Jets, I know Robert Saleh, I'm keeping the receipts. Okay, cool, bro. I know you just beat the Browns. You beat the fucking Browns without Deshaun Watson. Now you're going up against the Bengals. The Bengals are 0-2. They're in for a huge bounce back spot. I think Joe Burrow is a perfectly acceptable start of this week. I know through the first 2 weeks, things haven't been the best for Joe Burrow, especially last week. No bueno for Joe Burrow, but this week up against the Jumbo Jets, I think he bounces back. Joe Flacco legitimately looked good up against the Browns, so I'll give him his credit. Flacco legitimately looked the exact opposite of what he did in week 1. In week 1, he threw the ball like a million times, but half the time he's like dumping the ball off. Joe Flacco looked legitimately good. Now, I don't think he's going to look that good up against the Bengals. And in all reality, did you ever even consider starting Joe Flacco? Come on, you knew you weren't going to do that. Next up, we move to the turn your volume down, the Las Vegas Raiders at the Les Titans, the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill is listed as a start, but man, oh man, he is just the bottom of the barrel of the start-worthy quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, the reason why I'm listing him as a starter is because I legitimately think it's possible that the Buffalo Bills are just this absolute weapon of a team. That they are just the best team in the NFL. They are just butt-fucking every team without the use of lube in front of them, and that's just what's going to happen. Sorry, pal. Thanks for coming out, and that's why Ryan Tannehill looks so bad. That's what I'm assuming in my head. There's also a chance that Tannehill is washed, Derrick Henry is washed, and this is going to be an extremely long season for the Tennessee Titans. That's definitely the case. So again, if you have other guys that are listed as starts in this video and you have Ryan Tannehill, you're going to want to start the other player. But if you're in a pinch, I think there's worse players than Tannehill this week. The Raiders defense crumbled in the second half up against the Arizona Cardinals. I think Tannehill, I'm giving him one last ride here, one last shot. I know people would be like, oh, Nick, Tannehill looked awful last week. I completely agree with you. I still think he's decent, though. I think he'll play better in this game. But if he doesn't look great the next couple of games, he is in danger of getting benched for Mr. Malik Willis. For the Raiders, Derek Carr. What happened in week 2, bro? Week 1, you didn't really perform that well. Week 2, you didn't really perform that well. But in week number 2, you forgot how to throw the ball to Devontae Adams. In my opinion, Carr's a better player than we saw through the first 2 weeks of the season. But started to get worried that maybe this Raiders team also could be fraudulent. These teams are both 0-2, so at least one of these teams is going to get a win in week numero 3. Again, Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill are starts. Much more confident, though, in Derek Carr when compared to Ryan Tannehill. Next up, we move to the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. But before we break this game down in terms of the quarterbacks, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends, our sponsor of today's video. I'm pointing at them right now. Underdog Fantasy. Are your best ball teams already cooked? Head on over to Underdog Fantasy to resurrect them with their Week 6 through Week 17 best ball tournament. The entry fee is only $10 with $500,000 in prizes and $100,000 going to first place. All you got to do is draft your team. That's it. You don't have to worry about doing waivers all Tuesday night. Don't have to worry about calling up your friend. He's too busy watching his kid. He's on a date. He's doing some other shit like he has an actual job. What a loser, right? Not sitting here playing fantasy football all day. And can't make a trade with them because he's busy. Or you don't even have to worry about setting your lineup on Sunday, sitting on the toilet, setting your lineup, making all the wrong moves, because Underdog will automatically give you the best score for your lineup at the end of each and every single week. Underdog also features daily and best ball contests for the NBA, NHL, PGA, and MLB, so you can get action all year long, not just during the football season. All you gotta do is click on the link down below, down in the description, or use promo code Stokastic for a $100 first match deposit bonus. So if you want to enter the Best Ball Resurrection Tournament, which I would suggest, it's very fun, I love drafting, $10. So you would get 10 free entries. 10 times 10 is 100. So you deposit $100, you'd get 10 entries for free into that and potentially take home that big prize pool. So make sure you guys do check that out. Again, promo code Stokastic, or click on the link down below in the video description or in the pinned comment. I always make sure to pin that. Eagles at Commanders, back on into things. Jalen Hurts as well as Carson Wentz are starts. This Eagles team, the media is getting down on their knees and gawking them, just slobbering all over the knob of the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe for good reason, right? The Eagles look like a legitimate contender in the NFC. Jalen Hurts looks great. That throw to Quez Watkins was, my eyes ejaculated when I saw that. It was a fantastic pass. Hurts looks incredibly good. He looks better than last year. His passing ability has been upped. It makes sense. There's a reason why they brought in A.J. Brown. I know A.J. Brown didn't have a great week too, but it's because the team wants to throw the ball more. And the Commanders' defense is not really all that good. I know a couple years ago, oh, the Commanders' defense, blah, blah, blah. They're not really all that great. So I think Jalen Hurts is a fantastic game. Carson Wentz, shockingly, looks amazing. Carson Wentz, in Indianapolis, I thought, oh, he's getting carried by Frank Reich, this genius. He's getting carried. He's got Michael Pittman, got Jonathan Taylor. He's getting carried. He's not that good. This year, he looks like the old Carson Wentz, the maybe might win MVP Carson Wentz before he got hurt, and then 9-inch Nick Foles takes over, and then they win the Super Bowl. Now, this is a revenge game, and this is something to worry about because revenge games scare me, because this year, the revenge games have not worked in the favor of the player trying to get revenge, because in Carson Wentz's head, maybe it's like, they didn't believe in me. You ever heard those DJ Khaled songs where it's like, they didn't believe in us? That's what might be going through Carson Wentz's head. They didn't believe in me. I need to go out there, bend this team over, and fucking raw dog them into the night. That's what he's thinking. Maybe. Maybe he's thinking that. Now, I don't even think Carson Wentz is the type of guy to curse. So maybe he's thinking, oh, I'm going to frick these guys up or whatever. But that could be possible. He's thinking too much about the game. He makes this game, oh my God, it's like the Super Bowl. And then he just plays like dog shit because he can't. It's just too in his head. He's overthinking everything. Instead of making these simple passes to Terry McLaurin or to Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, he just instead just throws it to the other team or something. Like, that could happen because it's a revenge game. Or the opposite happens. He's cool in the pocket. He's like, I'm going to beat these fuckers, and it powers him. He gets mad, and it just levels him to the next level, and he butt fucks the Eagles. It's one or the other. one or the other. I definitely like Wentz, though. Wentz is a guy that if you picked him up off the waiver wire after week 1 or maybe even after week number 2, he's a guy you want to be starting in your lineup. Next up, we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. Big round of applause to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence looking better, looking much better than last season. Obviously, going from Urban Meyer's dumbass to Doug Peterson is going to help him out a ton. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has quite yet cracked the I want to be starting you, but he is edging up, right? Like, if you said, oh, Nick, I want to start Lawrence over Tannehill, you're not going to see me judging you, right? I'm not going to be super judgmental on that. I'd be fine with you saying that. Justin Herbert, the pervert, even if this man has one working rib, I'm still playing him. I'm still playing this man. I think he's going to play this week. I understand he's banged up. It's going to affect him. He's not going to look like the Justin Herbert, the pervert that we're used to, but he's still incredibly talented, even with the injuries that he has sustained. So I am very confident when I tell you to start Justin Herbert up against the Jaguars defense. Again, Trevor Lawrence is almost there. He's knocking on the door of becoming a start. He's creeping over the fence, but he hasn't leaped on over yet. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Matthew Stafford seemingly bounces back last week up against the Falcons, but everyone and their mother fucking expected that, right? He's going up against the Falcons defense. It should have been easy, and he plays quite well. He carves up that defense like it's a Thanksgiving turkey and stuck his dick directly in the ass of the turkey, which was a disgusting thing to say. I don't remember if that's from a movie or something. Actually, no, it's the pie for American Pie that the guy does that to. But it is what it is. Matthew Stafford up against the Cardinals. This matchup could potentially be really high scoring. The Cardinals disappoint week 1 immensely. In week 1, the Arizona Cardinals were taking a nap. They were in deep sleep like they were Snorlax. In week 2, it's looking like the same thing. It's like, wow. This Cardinals team is bad. This Cardinals team, you might have seen on Twitter, I was like, this Cardinal, I don't know if I tweeted this, but in my head, I'm like, wow, the Cardinals are fraud. F-R-A-U-D. Fraud. This team's looking bad. And then they fight back and back and back, and they win the game. So big props to the Cardinals. I just don't know if the Cardinals are on that same level as the Rams, but that is going to potentially lead to a high-scoring game here. The Cardinals' defense, while it did look good in the second half, really isn't all that good. I think the Rams' defense is still pretty good, but I think Kyler could still do decent in this game. Both Kyler and Matthew Stafford are start-worthy quarterbacks. The games last year, the Rams at Cardinals were pretty high-scoring, so I definitely do expect Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray to be reliable starters every week going forward. But again, I was starting to really panic on Kyler Murray. Next up, we get the Atlanta Falcons at the Seattle Seahawks, and I'll keep this one short, just like the quarterback we just talked about, Kyler Murray. Marcus Mariota, if you're in a really deep league, you need to start him, go ahead, right? Again, there's worse starts than Marcus Mariota, but then we are getting into the category where it's like, Nick, you're telling us to start every quarterback, you stupid fucker. Like, that's the category we get in once we start including Mariota and Lawrence, while we also have Tannehill and stuff, right? It gets just to be too much, and not everyone wants that. So I try to give, like, a genuine breakdown of all these players. Even if I say they're a sit, like, I still think Marcus Mariota could have a good game because it's not like the Seattle Seahawks defense is all that good. I know they looked really good in week number 1 up against the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson, Mr. Let's Ride, Broncos country. Let's ride. I think this week Marcus Mariota could be good. The Falcons offense, for some reason, refuses to use Kyle Pitts. They just don't throw him the ball. For reasons unbeknownst to me, they don't give him the ball. Arthur Smith somehow carved out of stone Cordero Patterson. Like, whoa! Cordero Patterson, this guy that's been in the league for 10 fucking years. He was great last year. He's great this year. I understand. Oh, Nick, he didn't play that great in week 2. I know he didn't play that great in week 2, but he could bounce back this week up against Seattle. But for some reason, he can't figure out how to use this monster of a man, Kyle Pitts, who runs super fast. It's kind of crazy. Marcus Mariota, a sit, but if you need to start him, you can. Geno Smith, you don't want anything to do with him. I know I said I'd keep this one short. We definitely went a little bit over on them. Packers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here I'm going to start both Aaron Rodgers as well as Tampa Bay Tom Brady. But this game, they are not ideal starts. These are not guys I would have ranked inside of the top 12, the top 10, anything like that. Tom Brady could potentially be without Julio. He's going to be without Mike Evans. He's going to be without Godwin. So it's going to be Russell Gage and then a bunch of fucking scrubs for him to throw the ball to. Now, we all know Tom Brady is just good, that he can elevate these other guys on the team, so don't be surprised if the Buccaneers have a good game, if Tom has a good game, but my confidence level in Tom Brady right now is at an all-time low. He did actually practice on Wednesday today as I'm recording today's video, even though last week or before the season came out, oh, he's not going to practice on Wednesday, blah, 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 because of the family thing. I think he's just sick and tired of seeing his stupid fucking supermodel Giselle wife, so he's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not staying home. I don't want to see the kids. I'm going to go play and practice some football. So Tom Brady's back in practice. I like Brady a decent amount. He should be okay in this game, but again, not a guy that I'm clamoring to start this week. Same thing goes with Aaron Rodgers. It seems like this team, while they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, they're trying to run the ball a little bit more because their wide receiver core just isn't really all that great. Now, again, Allen Lazard scores, blah, 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 but it's not like they have this crazy wide receiver core like you might be a little bit used to in the past with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is a fine start, but again, not a guy that really has me just so excited to start. I'm not enamored with starting Rodgers or Tom Brady this week. Next up, we move to the 49ers at the Denver Broncos for Sunday Night Football. Russell Wilson is a start, but Russell Wilson, week 1, he looked good up against Seattle. The problem was they just couldn't score. Last week, I'm legitimately starting to get concerned with Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos. What is happening? How do you barely eke out a win against the Texans? That should be a game where the Broncos pull their pants down and absolutely eviscerate the fucking Texans. Why are the Texans in the game with the Broncos? The Broncos, if you're a Broncos fan, you should be legitimately worried right now. Now, I know, Nick, it's only been 2 weeks. Things can change, sure. But if I had the hopes that I think the Broncos fans should have had, like these high hopes, things aren't looking the best. Russell Wilson, though, is a start. This should be a tougher matchup. Maybe they have to throw the ball more in this game. They might be without Jerry Jeudy. What I have read is that if Jerry Jeudy plays, he might be not 100%, like not the same Jerry Jeudy. He'll be fine. Not a guy you necessarily want to start in fantasy, but once he returns from the injury after about a week, he's going to be perfectly fine. This matchup, it's going to be Courtland Sutton as the main target on this team. I think Russell Wilson gets it done, but he's kind of in that range where he's a little bit more exciting than Brady and Rodgers, but it's starting to worry me slightly about Russ. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Guap, Jimmy G-Spot, Jimmy Pornstar, Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback of the Niners. Trey Lance gets hurt, which sucks. Jimmy Garoppolo's the guy. Jimmy Garoppolo is not exciting at all. He's not exciting at all. This stinks for my excitement level. Sure, the 49ers are probably better off starting Jimmy Garoppolo. They'll probably make the NFC Championship again, but Jimmy Garoppolo is anti-fun. He is just not a fun quarterback to watch. Final game here. Speaking of unfun quarterbacks to watch, a heated matchup of Cooper Rush versus Daniel Jones. I think I would legitimately rather get kicked in the testicles by Randy Orton or whoever has some strong kick power. Let's think. McGregor has a pretty strong kick, so Conor McGregor kicks me directly in the dick. My balls will probably go up to my eyebrows and then go back down through my body. Like, I'd rather that happen. Like, this game stinks. Monday Night Football is always a disaster. Anytime, like, the Cowboys and the Giants just get the Gawk 9000 by the TV companies. Like, why is this shit on television? Who the hell cares about Cooper Rush versus Daniel Jones? They're both not start worthy. Daniel Jones, despite the Giants being 2-0, there's no reason why he's a part of that shit. It's the defense and it's Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones looks bad. Daniel Jones's ass is grass at the end of this season, I strongly believe. Cooper Rush, congratulations, you beat the Bengals, but you're not exciting at all. Sit Cooper Rush and Danny Dimes. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button down below. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. I love you guys all so much. Make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy promo code Stokastic for that $100 first match deposit bonus. Love you guys as always. Good boy.